Awesome. Welcome for our last session of the week for our virtual open house. My name is Norma Nunez Pacheco, and I'm one of the admissions counselor for the Office of Undergraduate Admissions. Today, our last session will be with our Division of Student Affairs, and so I'll let our wonderful guests present themselves.
Well, hello, I am Dr. Ronald Briggs. I serve as the Associate Vice President and Dean of Students.
And I'm Dr. Kara Ray. I'm the Assistant Vice President for Student Affairs.
Awesome. So tonight we have a wonderful guest who are going to be able to talk to you a lot about how to get involved, different things that you can do on campus and amazing opportunities for you and so much more. But just wanted to remind you that while you're on with us on Facebook and YouTube, please feel free to use your TV, use a computer, whatever makes it feel more homey for you. We want to make this a great experience, as well as don't forget to sign up for our raffle. As you all have seen this wonderful bag, it is fantastic, pretty heavy. They weren't lying. I've been waiting all week to carry it, and it's still heavy. So please make sure to sign up for that. This is your last chance, so please make sure not to forget. With that said, I will let our guests get started.
Well, I think the whole purpose, and we really want to make sure that we're sharing information with our families and our students about how to empower our students to be successful. So we want to talk about that. I know a lot of times when we talk about student affairs, folks don't really know what is student affairs. So what if we want to give some insight on that? What are some of the challenges that we sometimes see students have, and how our students can overcome those challenges? So we want to really talk a little bit more about that.
Did you have anything to add, Dr. Ray?
We can go ahead and start talking about what we value in student affairs. As a division, we really value things like integrity, inclusion, community, discovery, and civility. And so you'll hear us hit on those topics as we go through what exactly student affairs is and what we can do for and with students and families to help people be successful here at Kennesaw.
Yeah, so when we talk about students or student affairs, it's literally that. It is all about the students. A lot of times when we think about college, we talk about the classroom experience, which is really important. Student affairs is the purpose of supporting our students both inside the classroom as well as outside the classroom. As we know, research actually shows that 70% of learning actually happens outside the classroom. So as student affairs practitioners, we want to make sure that we're providing that support and services for our students to learn that information or be able to apply that information that they learn in the classroom outside of the classroom. So we want to make sure that we're doing that. And we do recognize that, first year students, they have that aspiration. Every first year student really comes in with, similar experiences, making that transition from high school to college. So they're really learning how to grasp and navigate this new environment. But also at the same time, we want to make sure that they're getting connected to those resources that support their personal as well as their professional aspirations. And at the end of the day, we want to make sure, and as students, they want to make sure they're being responsible to their community.
That's a great point, Dr. Briggs, especially in our last session where we talked about and we asked about advice from our guests, and they talked about getting involved, exploring campus. It's really important. We have such great student organizations, and most of them are held within our Division of Student Affairs. So yes, lots of ways to get involved. We want to make sure that we're creating this community for you and that you can get to meet others that also share those same passions.
Mm-hmm. So as students, when they're transitioning into college, there's information and research that has shown us that there are some common barriers to students' success. And it's not uncommon. I know a lot of times when students are coming into college, they feel like they're the only one, and it's really not. Some of the biggest challenges that we've seen thus far over the years, adjusting to academic responsibilities. High school is much different than college. I think for folks who've actually gone through the experience with family members, they can share with you the experience is much different, particularly as it relates to the level of freedom as well as the level of responsibilities. There's a lot more time that you have on your hands. So from an academic perspective, you have like 4 or 5 classes for the week. You have all that time, so making sure you're taking care of that, which at times it can be stressful that you have all of that freedom, and making sure we're being responsible about that, but also at times want to make sure that folks aren't being overcommitted. I remember a mentor told me a long time ago, for folks who are coming to college, there's a lot of things that people want to do. One thing that your main focus should not be is to come to college and fall in love. You can do that as part of the college experience, but that shouldn't be not your major goal, right? Because that's an expensive date. but you always want to make sure that you're focusing on your academics, but also focusing on what makes you happy and how you can become a better person.
So we also know that some things that students deal with as they come to college might be things like anxiety or even depression. And one of the resources we want to make sure we emphasize is that we have a terrific counseling center here. That's also within the Division of Student Affairs. So in addition to those outside of the classroom activities, student organizations, events, fun stuff like that, we also have a whole part of our division that's really dedicated to supporting students. And so whether that's, you get to college and you're really dealing with some anxiety about those academic responsibilities and how to spend that free time, or whether it's a bit of a more serious issue, our counseling center is well equipped to deal with that. And we have offices on both campuses. So we want to make absolutely sure that everybody knows about that. We also find that our students are sometimes anxious and they're concerned for other people. And they're maybe even wondering how their families are doing at home without them if they've moved away to come to college. And this is just a really unusual time to be coming to college to begin with. In these days of COVID and wearing masks and social distancing and not having some of those big events, our students can be really worried about their families and friends who are elsewhere. And so we offer a lot of services to help students, first of all, deal with those feelings. And then also we want students to connect to each other and start to form those communities here. And that is so important. COVID or not, 2020, 2025, I'm going to be telling you the same things. We offer so many opportunities to get involved, meet other people, meet us. We like to meet students and talk to them as well. And so we definitely want to recognize what some of those barriers might be and work with students to help overcome them.
And thank you for talking about that, Dr. Ray. So it's really important. The counseling department is here for you. But I do have some students that I talk to when I'm recruiting out in the different territories, and they ask, these services, are they free? Is it something that you have to sign up for? What does that look like? What is really available to these students? Is it really accessible? What does that look like?
It is accessible. We want to make sure that the services and the resources are available for all of our students. All you got to do is just ask. The information is right there. And I think in the technology world that we're in right now, literally all you need to do is just type the information in, and someone will actually pop up and you're able to actually virtually or interact over internet. So I think that's a great opportunity. As far as cost, we're always working with students in regards to the cost. So we never want cost to be a barrier to the student's experience. So there's definitely those conversations that can definitely be had. Our counseling services actually has a plethora of different resources, whether it's individual counseling as well as group counseling and networking opportunities. So I definitely encourage, if students want to take advantage of those experiences, please do.
I definitely recommend it. It's great. It's something that's here for you. And we're all here invested in your success. So definitely happy to hear that we have these kinds of services on campus. Mm-hmm. Any other services or things that you'd like to talk about?
Yeah, I mean, when we talk about barriers, we also want to talk about what are those ways to overcome those barriers. And one of the best ways of overcoming those barriers is to get involved, to step outside the classroom. I think a lot of times, particularly with our first year students, their main goal is my first year, I want to focus on classes and that's it. And that's actually the wrong thing to do, is just focusing on your classes, because like we shared before, there's so many resources outside the classroom that support the in-classroom experience. So one of the different ways is actually getting involved in academics, getting involved in organizations, utilizing those resources. So when we talk about getting involved in student organizations and going to activities, one of the best ways is getting involved in like a student organization that's geared towards your major. Why? It's because the individuals that are typically in those majors are the same individuals that are in those classes as well as in those organizations. But guess what? The advisors for those organizations tend to be like faculty members and staff members from the college. So as we think about resources and networking, as you think about internships and research opportunities, taking advantage and utilizing that, but also getting involved in some of our organizations, our student organizations, as well as our fraternities and sororities. They're really geared towards student success. But one of the areas that we always talk about in college is the academics, right? Mm-hmm. Which is so important. But we also forget about those other skills that are important for student success, those soft skills, right? So when individuals are going out and looking for jobs and looking for careers, a lot of times employers, they look at the resume, but they also look at the individual off the resume. So what's their communication style? What's their ability to work with others unlike themselves? What's their ability to critically think, to solve those problems that aren't necessarily always on paper? So I think those are the areas that we really talk about and student affairs really focus on in developing those skills for our students.
You talked about having student affairs advisors. I think they're fantastic individuals that really help students kind of progress to learn about those soft skills you talked about. What kind of does their role look like since it's going to be out of the classroom? How do they help students develop, let's say, leadership or even build up their resumes to get ready for these job opportunities?
That is so important. I'm glad you said that. One of the great ways of actually developing those skills, we talked about being a student organization. So as a person is a leader within a student organization, they learn how to manage their time, which is one. You're managing your time because not only are you a student in class, but you're also leading an organization. But also a part of that in leading a student organization, you have to manage personalities, right? So you're learning how to navigate those different interactions and also those problem solving skills. But one of the other best ways of honing those skills is getting a job on campus, right? So you're learning about how to navigate the institution while also being a part of the institution, which is so critical. I always encourage students to actually, get a job on campus because for the first part, we recognize that you're a student first, right? So by you being a student first, we recognize the fact that classes are first, that midterms are coming up. So as those midterms are coming up and finals are coming up, we recognize, hey, I need you to take some time off so you can focus on your classes. And I think that's what's really important. But as part of that, you're developing those skills, right, that you can actually put on your resume. Career services, or particularly our career and planning development, that is not a department that you want to focus on just your senior year of college, right? It's one of those areas that you want to take advantage of your first year of college and not wait until your spring semester when you're graduating to say, hey, I need to tweak my resume. You always want to be tweaking it. And by doing that, it's through those experiences that you're having by being on campus, getting involved in organizations, working, volunteering, things of that nature.
Yeah, I would even say if you're undecided right now, still use the Career Planning and Development Office. They're fantastic. They'll still help you navigate kind of what career you want. What do you want your life after college to look like? And they can help you work backwards to see what major can help you with that as well.
We also have a lot of great opportunities in the different peer mentor programs that our offices offer, and also in leadership programs such as our Engaged Now Leader program, so that students who maybe aren't sure which student organization is right for them or just want to do something a little bit different or focused in mentoring others or being mentored in your first year here, there's lots of opportunities to engage with that as well. And you'll also get to spend some time with us as student affairs administrators, and we love talking to students. Yes. About what you want to do with your life, what you want to do with your spare time. We love helping students work through that. And so getting students involved in those programs run by our offices is also a big goal of ours.
It's the reason why we're in this field.
Honestly, I think we have the best job. We get to hear about what you want to do with your life. We live vicariously through you. It's honestly a lot of fun because, we hear students that they're going to go abroad, they're going to get a job abroad or go to another state. It's so many great things that we get to hear from students' experiences. So it's really great. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So yes, I would always share with students, get rest. I know a lot of times in college, students focus on, getting involved in so many different activities and forgetting about sleeping. You gotta sleep, you gotta get your rest, and that's so important. So making sure that you're being healthy and responsible, so living healthy and being healthy, but also taking care of business and having fun, which is so important.
I'm glad you bring up fun. I do have a lot of students that ask me, what are your favorite activities, your favorite traditions on Kennesaw campus or Marietta campus? So what do you all think are your favorites? Something you can share to the students?
Well, let me tell you one of my absolute favorite ones that's coming up really soon. It's going to look a little bit different this year. Usually we want big crowds there, and this year, of course, we want smaller crowds. But it is our pumpkin launch. And so for our first year students in the mechanical engineering kind of intro first year class, this is a great example of how academics and student affairs come together. Because what they do in class is they build catapults and trebuchets and that launch pumpkins. And then we all go out to the soccer fields and they actually test these. And it is amazing how far these pumpkins will go. And it turns into a big fun event. Their families come and other students come, and some of our student organizations will do activities alongside it. So there's stuff to do while they're loading the catapults and whatnot and switching them out between rounds. And that is just one of our most amazing traditions. That was the first thing folks told me about when I started looking at working here. And indeed, it was one of the best things that I've ever seen.
It's the Thursday before Halloween, correct? Yeah,
that is true.
I saw that and I was just like, might come to campus just for that.
I am looking forward to seeing some pumpkins getting launched.
Definitely.
That's really exciting.
How about yours? What's some of your favorite activities or fun activities?
You know, I'm new to the institution, and when I heard about pumpkin launch, I was like, I need to check this out. So my undergrad was mechanical engineering, and we didn't get to build catapults. So I'm looking forward to being able to, like, to see people like throw, you know, pumpkins, you know, 50, 60 feet in the air. That's
Oh, not even 50 or 60 feet.
that's
Farther than that.
I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah, and it's so great. Like, it's not just about the catapults. I hear that the students also get to learn about communications skills, the team building within their teams to kind of communicate. If something doesn't work like they imagined it would, what do they have to change and modify to make that pumpkin go further? I think you have 3 chances or something like that. So it's pretty awesome. So yeah, so what other things that you would like to discuss with us today?
Sure. I think the biggest part that I always want to make sure that I'm reiterating is utilizing your resources, taking advantage of the resources that are there for you, not just spending your time just in the residence hall or just going home, but utilizing the different activities and the resources that are here at the university, branching out and trying new things, but being responsible. And one of the things I would also share that I really would love to see more of is our students getting out to different activities as it relates to our sporting events, coming to our football games and basketball games and baseball games. The individuals that they're cheering on are your peers, they're students. So being supportive of our students and learn a lot more. So even if you don't know what a first down is, or you don't know what a free throw is, it's still getting out there to have fun. There's been plenty of times I've actually worked with students and encouraged them to come out to the games, and they're like, I'm not really into football or into basketball. And they've gone out to the events, and after that, I asked them, like, how was the game? They're like, I had so much fun. I'm like, what did you think of the game? Like, I don't even know who won, but I had so much fun. That's what's important, is the engagement aspect, but also cheering on your fellow students.
Yeah, no, definitely.
And I would say that, you know, you've probably heard a lot maybe from other folks in your families who have gone to college. If you're a parent or family member watching this right now, I'm sure you're thinking back to your own undergraduate experience. If you don't have those things, then you've at least probably seen images of college on TV and in the movies. And we know it's going to look different when you get here. You know, just because of everything that's going on right now, it might look a little bit different. You know, just the fact that you're not right in front of us right now is a little bit different. But, you know, no matter what you were thinking that college experience might be like, and if you're worried about it being different, it's still going to be your experience. And you can make it what you want it to be. We hope that you're going to do that here with us at Kennesaw. We offer so many different opportunities. We have about 1,000 programs a semester. We actually counted this year, so that we could say, look at all the great things we're doing, even in these restricted times when we can't all be in an arena together at a concert. So we're doing a lot. You're going to do a lot when you're here. It's going to be a great experience.
So student organizations are still getting together, and what kind of activities are they doing? Mostly Zoom, or what have you all heard about how people are still getting engaged despite the social distancing?
Yeah, so students organizations are still able to get together. It's just not as large, right? So more of like your smaller, intimate type of crowds, but they're still putting on activities. We see a lot of activities that are out there on the green where folks are playing Frisbee or, you know, throwing a softball around. But also the other opportunities is actually have some of those interactive activities. I think in this particular time, in this era of being virtual, because we pretty much kind of have to, it provides us the ability to really reach out and go further, where student organizations are to connect with individuals across the country, and being able to actually bring in speakers that usually, you know, from a cost perspective, you have to pay for them to fly in and stay and pay for their food, when literally all you need to do is just pay for them to speak on a screen. It's been a great opportunity for student organizations to kind of branch out and learn a lot more without having to pay as much.
Yeah, so I definitely hear that now we have way more opportunities to hear from, you know, people that we might have not been able to hear from before, and so those students get to possibly even network if it's a smaller, more intimate setting. So that's really exciting.
And I think that our student groups are certainly learning to be flexible, and which is a good skill to have for the future. But our student activities folks are also doing great things to help our students work with their student organizations online. So they're trying to, you know, figuring out how we can have some reservable team sites so that students aren't limited to, you know, the free 40 minutes or whatever that you might be able to get with a free account, but, you know, can access some university resources. That way, they're working with them to figure out how do we do events safely. You know, we're still out there doing, I don't know, we did craft events last week, and we were out there just doing silly little crafts with students, but the real point is that we're interacting and talking, and students can talk to each other, not too many of them at one time, but still that kind of connection is really important, and we're still working to facilitate that and also to help students facilitate that for each other.
Yeah, I'm really proud of our fraternities and sororities as well because they've really stepped up and taken the lead, not only from an activity standpoint, but also making sure that they're focusing on the development of their peers. So I really have to give them kudos for that.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, so there's a lot of going on campus despite everything that's happened. And we're really lucky to also have great administrators that are helping support our staff to be able to support you all. We also were talking about the different activities, and with that said, is what else happens on campus that you all have really, liked so far? Maybe you said that you're near campus, so what has impressed you so much about Kennesaw State so far?
Honestly, it's the students who are so welcoming, their ability to really show you what it means to be an owl, to really, I would say for me to embrace welcoming me to the institution, showing me around. Actually, I got lost on campus a few weeks ago, and they were able to kind of navigate me back to campus, which was really awesome. So it's really been the student experience. It's been awesome for me.
So is there any questions from our Facebook or YouTube students? Awesome, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so in a non-COVID world, what were some of the bigger events that the Division of Student Affairs hosted for our students to get involved with?
So certainly, events like homecoming. Right now, in a normal world, we'd be coming up on a big homecoming event. We'd have football games. We would have a concert. We would have carnival type things outside. So homecoming is a big signature event. The pumpkin launch that we already mentioned. In the spring, we have KSU Day, which is really a day designed to celebrate our values here at Kennesaw and also to have some fun in the spring before folks go home or off on other adventures in the summer. We have those are really our biggest events. And then we also have a large number of things like a fall festival at the Marietta campus. We have our competition teams competing throughout the year, doing some exhibitions. Our weeks of welcome and welcome back week in fall and spring respectively usually have some large events. We like to get folks out mingling together, and we're so excited about returning to that one day, hopefully soon.
Yeah, like our concerts that we have on campus, our sporting events, which are also great. A lot of the events that our student organizations are putting on, the glow parties, our fraternities, sororities doing some collaborative opportunities. It's been really awesome. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing that together.
Yeah, and if students don't see an organization that maybe they want to be part of yet, or they want to start something new, is that possible? How is that done?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's very possible. You just need a few friends. I think it's 4 people, but I always have to look that up to be totally sure. So if you come in the fall and you are in the spring and you want to start a student organization, come see me and we'll look that up together. But you just need a few friends. You get together. There's usually someone in the student activities office on either campus who's dedicated to meeting with students who want to form a new organization. One of the first things you do is figure out how that organization is going to work, right? So you write your constitution and your bylaws, figure out how to market that student organization and gather people together to engage in whatever fun activity that your organization's organized around.
That's
and
awesome.
you get funding for it too.
Yeah.
So you don't have to come out of your own pocket. You get funding for it.
Yeah, so potentially free pizza. So honestly,
And so much more.
free food, honestly, and so much more. But that's so great. Definitely a place that students love to get involved. And you honestly, even more than funding, you get friendships that last forever. Honestly, some of my best friends are my college friends. They came to my wedding. I mean, it's something that you really build friendships for life in college. And we're happy to think that potentially Kennesaw State will be your nest for the next 4 years. So we have another question as well.
Yes, so the question I have is, do you feel that there have been an expansion of virtual opportunities as well? I know that we have in-person events as well, but do you feel that we've added a lot more virtual opportunities too for those students that may not necessarily be able to get on campus all the time?
Yes, for sure. So it's one thing of actually having the on-ground, but we also have the online experiences too. A lot of our student organizations, being the fact that we can't have so many people together at once, they've actually made it virtual too, so other individuals across campus, but also while they're at home, are able to actually participate. So we're excited about the fact that our students have been very thinking outside the box and innovating how they can actually engage their peers.
And I think that that's probably something we're never going to go back, right? We're probably going to have more virtual and more in-person events going forward. So we'll have more opportunities for you.
Yes.
Definitely. And that can go as far as maybe even career options, right? Like I've heard of different employers that maybe were across the US that will now be able to provide more internships that way. So lots of exciting stuff. We have another question from our audience.
All right, so here is, it can either be a long answer or a short answer, depending on how you take it. But what is the success rate for a student who gets involved as opposed to someone who doesn't get involved?
That's a great question, and research has shown us is that when students who are involved, not only do they feel connected to the institution, they feel like it's their home, they return to the institution, and they graduate. If you are in an environment where you feel like you're a part of and it's yours, of course you're going to be successful because you want to take advantage of the resources that are there. But if you're in an environment where you don't feel like it's your home, where literally you come to campus and then you go home and you're not utilizing those resources that are there, you don't feel connected. And when you're not connected, you don't really particularly persist. Now, there are times where students are definitely successful in the ability to do that, but you're a lot successful. The rate is actually a lot higher when you're involved.
And with over 41,000 students on campus, you are more likely to find someone who has those similar interests. And so utilizing the Division of Student Affairs to be able to find those individuals is what makes it so great. It connects you outside of the classroom because it's great. You'll get to see a lot of your friends within your classroom, but as you go into your major, you start wanting to meet other people from different and network from different majors. So student activities helps you do that as well.
Yeah, I think that's an awesome part about that is the fact that this isn't anecdotal. The data's there. And if you get a chance to actually talk with your peers, but also look at the data, because student affairs practitioners, we worked on this, we got our doctorates and our degrees because we had to study this stuff. The research actually shows that students who are involved, not only did they return to the institution, but they graduate at a higher rate.
Well, let's be real. Were you all involved when you all were in undergraduate, your education, undergraduate? Like, did you all get involved on campus? What things did you do? And maybe how did you even get into student affairs?
Yeah, so I was on what we call our program board, and meaning that my student organization planned events and put those on. And I was also an orientation leader. This was a long time ago. We won't talk about how long, but that was a great experience, and it really led me to decide I wanted to do this as my career. And then when I was in my doctoral program, we were all comparing notes earlier, my research is actually about how students connect to each other and how they use those in-person, even just informal connections, like, this is Bob and he sits next to me in class and I know Bob, and if I get a flat tire, I can email him and he'll send me the notes. Those kinds of connections, which you're going to make at events and in organizations and in your classes, just they're demonstrably able to show that those kind of connections help you do better. And we're all about helping students make those connections.
Sure, sure. And my story is very similar, a little bit in both ways, where I was involved from the aspect of I worked on campus. I actually had 2 jobs on campus. As a mechanical engineering major, most of my time really focused on classes and work. And my senior year is when I decided that I want to get a different experience. So I actually quit one of my jobs. And I decided I wanted to get involved in a student organization. And I think that's where the student affairs bug came, because the advisor for the student organization was the vice president for student affairs. And I got a chance to learn about higher education and get a chance to talk to students about my experience and learn that I wasn't alone. I had the similar experience like other individuals. And from there on, I just really loved what I was doing. And very similar to Dr. Ray, my dissertation focused on peer mentoring. So students to student peer mentoring. And what we found is that when a student is learning from another student, both individuals are learning, right? So it's one thing of actually learning from someone, but when you have to actually teach it or share that information, you have to know it too. So we found the benefits of that as well.
Yeah, peer mentoring is so important. We have that even within many different programs, but one that we mentioned earlier this week was our honors program. They do have peer mentoring as well, and they kind of help you kind of navigate that, get to kind of remove that scariness from talking to your professor. I myself was a peer mentor during my senior year in college, and I absolutely loved it. It was nice to be able to help freshmen their first year kind of navigate all of the things that come with college, all of the different services, and it really changed my life, and here I am, still talking about it, really enjoying it. So I see that we have another question.
Okay, so this could actually tie into my previous question. Is there a limit to how many organizations or clubs a student can get involved in, or is there like a cap or anything like that?
Yeah, so remember I talked about that overcommitted? There's a balance. There's no limit, but at the same time, your main responsibility is academics. So I don't want you to overdo it. You need rest You need classes. You need to focus on your own personal health.
And there's some organizations, right, that are like really active, maybe that you take a leadership role in, because it's not just about being involved. You can also be a president of an organization, and all of that can go in your resume as well. And so some are a lot more active than others. Some are kind of just more, they'll meet up maybe once a month, and it's just something to connect over. So it really just depends. So definitely listen to Dr. Briggs on that. Do not overcommit. Do not be me freshman year where I joined way too many organizations. I was being pulled way too many directions. Really find the ones that you really enjoy and kind of focus in, and maybe potentially get a leadership opportunity in those as well. I say that we have another question as well.
I'm loving how this conversation is kind of segueing to my other questions. So here's one for you guys. What is a piece of advice that you can give to students about time management?
One thing that I spend a lot of time explaining to students is that for every hour in class, you should probably expect to spend about 3 hours outside of class studying, writing, doing homework. And that's a big change for some folks. If you're coming straight out of high school, that may be very different than your high school experience. If you're coming to us maybe a little bit later, it's a whole different adjustment if you've been working. And so Dr. Briggs talked earlier about having all that free time, and that is such a huge transition for college students. Like, well, I have a class at 9, and then I don't have another class till 2, and on paper, oh, that looks awesome, right? But really what you should be doing is going and doing some studying or homework or just review from the class you just had. And we even know, we love research and data, and there has actually been some research done that some of our faculty friends cite that in math, particularly if you, after a math class, you go and do a review or a study or a homework session, you're just going to cement those concepts into your head and do much better in the class. And so we really advise students to be strategic about that. And I'm a planner person, so whether it's on paper or on your phone or whatever, the best advice I can say is to plan that kind of thing out, that commitment of outside of the class studying, organizations, sleep,
Yes.
and going to class.
Write that down.
Write it down.
You have to put it down. I'm going to sleep during this time. I think another portion is taking advantage of, as I mentioned before, the resources and time management, utilizing tutoring. A lot of times folks don't want to use tutoring because they feel like, well, if I go to tutoring, that means I don't know. Well, the research actually shows the individuals who are successful are the ones who are actually utilizing tutoring. So making sure they're doing that, but to answer your question as it relates to time management is writing it down, making sure that you're focusing on your schedule. A lot of times folks just kind of just go the way they want to go. And sometimes they miss out on things when they do that because, oh, I forgot I got an exam, or I forgot I need to study for the exam that's coming up in a few weeks. And what I do, I wait to the end and I cram, which is the wrong thing to do. A lot of times people pride themselves on, doing those all-nighters or pulling those all-nighters to stay awake to study and then get ready for that exam at 8 o'clock. Well, biologically, you forget. Your body needs rest. So after so much time of just studying and not giving your body that rest, you forget. So taking care of yourself.
Yeah. And definitely considering all the different things. As they mentioned, the tutoring center, most of the time there are students who are TAs who have been working with those professors, so they know a lot about what's going on in the classroom to help you kind of navigate there, sometimes even sit in your lectures, so they get to hear kind of what is being needed and what's being taught. So they're great to help you out with that. So please make sure you use all of your resources. And we also have a writing center, so also take advantage of that as well. We have another question.
Again, another segue question, which is great. So I know we briefly mentioned some of the facilities that Student Affairs offers for our students. So could you maybe list a few more of them that help our students that are struggling to get involved or anything like that?
I would say one of the easiest ways was one thing of our student activities office. Living on campus is a great way. So by you living on campus, you have your RAs who are essentially there to help you get connected to resources. Our student rec is another great place to learn about those resources. Our student center, which houses a lot of this information, a lot of these different departments, are some of the ways for folks to get connected. Eating, the dining hall, those are other great ways to really get connected and to meet others. We all need to eat. I like to eat, and it's an opportunity. And so do your faculty. They like to eat too. So I think it's taking advantage of those opportunities to be in a dining hall, to live on campus, to go to the rec, which is like kind of like a twofold. You know, you're meeting people, but also at the same time, you're getting healthy. You're releasing those endorphins, which also helps you. That good stress. So taking advantage of those opportunities.
I heard that we also have adult and commuter services as well.
Right.
So for any students that maybe don't live on campus or can't live on campus, we have services to serve you as well if you're commuting. So we want to make sure that we're always serving you all and, you know, setting you up for success.
That is correct.
Anything else that you wanted to add, Dr.
Yeah,
Reed?
something we haven't talked about yet is our cultural and community centers.
Definitely.
So whether that's our Global Village, which works with international students, our CARC, our LGBTQ Resource Center, we have centers around different identities like that, and which can be a great support to students as you're navigating your college experience. And they also put on just great programs for everybody. So it's really important to try to take advantage of those resources as well, whether it's physically going to a resource center or reading the resources online or going to a program. And finally, I also want to mention owllife.kennesaw.edu. Some of that's going to be hidden behind a username and password, so you'll have to decide to come here to really get into all of it. But it's our main student organization website. And so if you're interested in seeing some of our 250 student organizations and the kind of events that they're doing, you should definitely check that out. So it's not a facility, but it's...
And so you mentioned the student center, right? So that means a lot of these different offices and centers are actually located in the same area, so students don't have to, you know, go far out to kind of find them, correct?
Yeah, you
Yeah.
don't need to get lost like I did.
You'll get used to this campus soon.
Yes, and the last thing we want you to do is have to go, you know, wondering where these things are. So we're going to locate a lot of them together. So regardless of which campus you spend most of your time on, you're going to find a lot of these in our student centers, and then we've spread out to some other buildings as well. But even though we're a big school at 41,000 students, it doesn't always feel that big, which is one of the things I love about Kennesaw.
Yeah.
And one of the ways that you can make it feel less big for yourself too is to find that niche, or maybe 2 or 3 niches. Is that the plural? I don't know. But to find some of those home away from homes where you can spend time and get to know other people.
Yeah, I think when I got involved on campus and started working on campus, I don't think I ever left. Easily I was there 8 a.m. and I might have left like at 11 or even later if I went to the library after. So I loved being on campus, so definitely. We have another question as well from our audience. Yeah.
Yes, so this is a little bit different in terms of services offered, but I was hoping y'all could speak on, I know y'all mentioned counseling services, obviously, as well as maybe highlight some of the other services similar to that. So I guess student disability services would fall under that, and health services that we offer on our campuses as well for people.
Yeah, so if you get sick, like you get a cold, catch a flu, you don't have to just rush off campus. We actually have health services located here on campus, which I think is really important. Our Center for Youth, young adult addiction and recovery is another great area for our students to really learn not only about themselves, but also to really focus on self-help, but also self-care. I think those are some other great ways and great areas for our students to take care of themselves. I mentioned the rec before. That's another great way to take care of yourself health-wise. There's a lot of different resources that are here on both campuses, so taking advantage of the campuses I think is really important.
And I wanted to ask, what about students maybe experiencing food insecurity? Do you have anything, maybe you can mention what food insecurity is and then what kind of resources you have for those students?
Yes, our care team, awesome. Marcy and her team are awesome. We have food pantries on both campuses, specifically for exactly that, food insecurity. So those students who, and which is reality, you know, students who come to college have ran into those challenges where the money is going toward, you know, they're focused on their education and the resources that are there, and they may not necessarily have just enough to really cover, you know, meals for the rest of the week. And I think our care team really focuses on that. So that food pantry is taking advantage of the resources that are there. They actually, what's really awesome about it is they literally can go online and type in the information that they're looking for and actually go virtually shopping. We have student staff that are there that will actually virtually go shopping for you, create a basket for you, and then you just come to campus and pick it up. And on both campuses they can do that. So I think that's really awesome.
We had another question, yeah?
And with those services, like everything, I mean, y'all spoke on a couple different things there. They are included with the cost of Kennesaw State and the fees that are included, or are those things they're going to have to pay for additionally?
It is a part of their tuition. It's a part of their college experience, yes.
So absolutely free for them in that sense. Students are able to use this food pantry they'll have their hours. Sometimes there are different times of the week, but students are able to go there. Really, there's no kind of judgment in any capacity. This food is for you all. You all are able to use it to what you all need. And sometimes it's also fresh food. It's not just canned food. There's a lot of that stuff that way you can use throughout your diet while you're here.
Little different question from a different audience tuning in. So with the time of students getting stepping into a new chapter of their life, it's also a new chapter for our parents. So how do our parents get involved now that their kid is here at Kennesaw State?
That is perfect, because not only is it a new experience like you mentioned before for the students, it's also something for the parents. I think being involved in our parent-family programs, our parent-family association, is so critical, because the information that our parents are receiving is one, to actually keep them abreast of what's happening at the university and opportunities for our families to be involved, but also another resource for our students, because the information that they'll be receiving from our team, shout out to Sharon, they provide that information to let you know, hey, this deadline is coming up, or hey, this experience is getting ready to come up. How about you get your student involved in these different opportunities, or remind your student that finals are coming up. Like for instance, registration started last week, reminding our students to register for classes for the spring semester.
I had one, again, a little bit different. I'm throwing you all over the place here.
Okay,
But
love it. That's what we're here
in
for.
regards to positions that are a little bit more leadership based on campus for students to get involved and really impact some change for the institution, are there any opportunities y'all would like to speak on regarding that? Just kind of some opportunities like that. Yeah.
So one of the offices I work with is the Office of Student Leadership and Service. And so our folks in those areas are doing amazing programming. Even now, when we can't really take large numbers of students off campus to do service events, they're working to find virtual service events. They also have different groups of students. I think I mentioned engaged OWL leaders, a little bit of a tongue twister there earlier, and different peer mentoring groups, a lot of civic engagement to get students into the community, to work on issues that are important to them and projects that are important to them. So that office is going to be key for students' experiences.
I would also say the definite opportunities for hands-on experience, being involved in student organizations, so being a part of our Student Government Association, being a part of our activities boards, it positions you to not only learn on the field, but also provides you that opportunity, as I mentioned before, the skill building aspect of the critical thinking, how to think on your feet. I think those are great opportunities for our students to really hone in and develop those skills, but also develop the confidence. And at the same time, their support is there, because I subscribe to that philosophy. We never want our students to fail, and we believe in that, so we always want to make sure our students are successful.
Yeah, and you'll get it a lot. Let's say in future job interviews, people might ask you, what's the biggest challenge you ever faced, or a time, where you had to make a difficult decision. A lot of these things are usually answered and experienced through student activities. This is when you really get to put that real life experience out there. Yes, you get it in your classroom, but I think I was always able to speak about it more when I thought about leadership skills I built in a student organization.
Very true. Student organizations, I would also say being an RA, you learn a lot, because not only you're helping students, but you're learning how to navigate different situations.
And an RA means what again?
Resident assistant. So living on campus, but also as part of living on campus, the ability to really lead a group of students. So a lot of our upper division students who are RAs, they work with our first year students and our upper division students and help them get connected to the resources and help them get acclimated to the institution just like someone else did for them.
Yes, we have a question.
All right, so here is another question speaking from another student group. So what are some of the resources that maybe some of our families involved in the military, or students coming in from the military, being gone for a while, what kind of services do they have coming into Kennesaw State?
So I work with our Military and Veteran Services Office particularly, and we have centers on both campuses that provide some community, just places to be, to hang out with other students who are veterans, or students whose parents were veterans who are maybe here on those benefits as well. And our staff in those offices work to create community, but they also work to help our students figure out how to apply their benefits. We also have folks who come in from the VA on a regular basis to work with our students. So whether you're trying to figure out how to utilize your GI Bill benefits, or if you're navigating a return from a combat situation where you are trying to figure out what accommodations you're going to need, or just even how coming out of the military, how to navigate that college experience is a big transition. And our staff there are really dedicated to working with that. We have 3 staff members on both campuses. And again, we have resource centers on both campuses. And there's also folks outside of student affairs in, say, financial aid and the registrar's office who are experts in that kind of thing as well. And so we spend a lot of our time connecting students with them and helping them figure out how all this is going to work, but also just to feel comfortable here and be successful here.
And a lot of our staff within the office also has military background.
Yes,
right?
all of them do.
Yeah. So definitely has that experience to be able to kind of empathize and understand this whole new environment with you all. We have another question as well.
You mentioned accommodations. Is there a time period you would give potential students who are interested in KSU, if they are needing accommodations when they come on campus, when they would need to look into that? Would it be something they need to look into right before classes, or well in advance of that?
Oh, no, I think the earlier the better. So as they're accepted into the institution, I know a lot of students who are coming from high school, they have an IEP program, or have an IEP. And with that, as they're going through orientation, getting connected with our student disability services team. They really work with our students and making sure they're getting the appropriate accommodations for their classes, as well as navigating the institution. So making sure they're taking advantage of that. That's also a resource that's actually located on both campuses. So we want to make sure that our students are getting those appropriate resources. Great question.
Yeah, please make sure to let your admissions counselors know that visit your high schools. Let them know if you have an IEP. We can't know if you need accommodations if you don't self-disclose. We're not allowed to ask you in any capacity. You have to let us know. This is how we'll be able to connect you with the student disability services, so that they do have some paperwork. I would say that it might take maybe about 2 months to kind of get all of it together before your first time getting accommodations your first semester. So please make sure you do that earlier than later. As soon as you know that you've been accepted, let your admissions counselor know, so that we can make sure to connect you to those accommodations. You have everything from like extra testing, right? Extra testing time. And even now I've seen that students also within our Zoom classes have ability for captions in case you need that. There's a lot more.
Yeah, note-taking resources, so like Kurzweil and Dragon. And I think what's also awesome about that is that students can actually do it in advance. They can actually go online and actually get registered, and then from there, their counselor will actually reach out to them to set up a time so that we can go through what are the different resources that they necessarily need.
Yeah, there's a lot. I think they even can convert all of the books into Braille.
That is correct.
So lots of accommodations, I would say even more than in your high school. So please make sure you take advantage of that, because like we said, we are invested in your success.
It can be a big change from high school in my experience. Going from having an IEP or a 504 plan, at least in the state of Georgia, can be a big transition into college, because some of the documentation requirements here are different from high school to college. I'm not sure if that's true in every state, but my experience has been in the state of Georgia. And so that's one of the reasons we really recommend you start early.
Yes.
Yes, please. Any other questions? Yeah, go ahead.
All right, so here, kind of changing gears here. So we have a few questions about our sports and recreation. So let's say with our NCAA Division I teams, we don't have a specific team for the men's or women's. Do we offer intramural sports or anything like that?
Yes.
So many.
So many. Club sports is definitely another big drive. Our students are very competitive, which I think is great. So those opportunities are definitely there. And if there's a particular sport or a particular activity that isn't there, all you got to do is just reach out to us and let us know what you're looking for. We want to make sure that we'll be able to provide that for you.
I was an ultimate Frisbee champ for my intramural sports, so it was good. I was also the last goal or whatever we call it, touchdown, I don't even know. But I was just at the sport. I don't know the names for it. Now I think it's gotten really complicated, but back then, definitely. So I loved intramurals, and you get to select your own team as well, right? You get to meet with other students, and if you don't know anyone, you can just go to rec. I think all the individuals and staff are fantastic there. They'll set you up with a team in case you're interested in a sport. If someone needs a player, everyone's happy as long, that they all want to cheer you on, but it does get pretty competitive, I've heard, for sure.
Yeah.
And if team sports aren't your thing, then we also have exercise classes and things like that as well. Even today, in today's COVID world, we have had Zumba on the green. I think there's a yoga class going on like every hour of the day that I walk out of the building. There's outdoor yoga going on.
For like sunrise yoga or something like that.
So
It's
there's
really
a lot of
nice.
opportunities, whether team sports or individual participation is more your jam. You can definitely get involved in that.
Is it true that there's also stuff like outdoor sports and stuff like that? I've heard, because we have, so much outdoorsy stuff that we can do. Not my forte, but I definitely have heard of it. Is that true?
Absolutely. So we have groups that will go hiking and camping, again, probably in less socially distanced times, probably a little bit less of that, but it's Bike-tober right now, and so we have some bike events going on. You can also rent bikes and different equipment for your own adventures. And so regardless of what you'd like to do, we are just in a fantastic geographic location here for everything from the advantages of having a large city nearby to being able to get to the mountains really easily. And so those of you who are local will know that. Those of you who might be coming to us from farther away will probably be excited to discover that, and we can help you get involved regardless. But yeah, we offer a lot of services like that for students.
Fantastic. I think we have, time for
One last question, I'm sorry. But as far as organizations, I know we've talked a lot about organizations, especially ones that people that are on campus can get involved with, those that are living on campus. Do we have some different organization groups geared towards older students that are available? Some I would imagine that are a little bit more flexible in their schedules and how they meet around people who have like families and then work full-time jobs and stuff like that?
Yes, I mean, there are organizations that focus on every category of students, which I think is really awesome. It shows the fact that our institution is inclusive. And it's one thing of actually meeting in person, but there's also those opportunities to actually meet virtually.
One of the neatest things that a couple of our student workers in our Adult and Commuter Resource Center at Marietta actually started, I think they use GroupMe, and then they also used a couple other different things. I'm sure folks are using Slack and other technologies, but to have a kind of a virtual hangout, whether it's synchronous or asynchronous, and they were really excited about that, so that even though students couldn't necessarily come in and hang out in the resource center or come to a meeting, that there was that kind of online presence going on. So there's a lot of creativity that we're seeing as well.
And so those are all really great, especially when thinking about, like you mentioned, students that are commuter students or are adult students. There's also grad organizations that you can be part of, just even if you're not in grad school. There are some, because a lot of our grad students tend to have families or be more adult students, I guess, because y'all are still adults at this point when you get over here. So we want to make sure that, you can still get involved in that way and find community.
I agree.
So any advice that you have for students about getting involved or anything, especially for a lot of our audience looking in today and parents and stuff like that?
Yeah, I would share, as far as for our students, taking advantage of the opportunities immediately. You definitely want to take advantage of the resources as you get acclimated to the institution. And for our family members, communication is key. Both ways. It's communicating with the university, but also communicating with your students. Once your students get acclimated to the institution, there's a lot of times that they get so busy that they forget to call home, right? Which freaks out the parents. So making sure you're setting a time, a day and time where you're connecting with your students, and making sure that we're being a resource for you all, for you as well as for your student. I always share that, particularly for the Dean of Students Office, we want to be that one-stop shop. So if family members have questions or concerns and don't necessarily know who to call, easiest way, Dean of Students Office, Dean of Students at kennesaw.edu, easiest way. Or you can actually just go into the website and just Google Dean of Students, and we can connect with you from there.
Well said. I think from years of watching students go off to college, and I'm assuming I'm talking mostly to students who are maybe finishing up high school, but also if you're one of our adult returning students, go ahead and have those conversations now about how life is going to look different when you come to college, so you can start making those plans. And some of that's dreaming about things that you want to do differently, or make different choices, or just make good choices now. But also, some of it is talking about how life is going to change at home. It's such an exciting time, regardless of what stage of life you're coming to us from. And we're just so excited to welcome you here.
Awesome. Well, again, thank you all so much. This was our last session. I think it was great. I think it was fantastic to have you all spend your time with us today. And I know that I think this is the first time I see so many questions from our audience. It makes me really excited. Awesome. I've been in the chat, y'all, in case you remember me. So please make sure to look up the Office of Dean of Students, also the Office of Student Activities, and so much more that is here for you. Also, thank you for joining us again, Dr. Briggs and Dr. Ray. Again, my name is Norma Nunez Pacheco. I'm one of the admissions counselors. Please don't hesitate to contact us. We are here for you. And don't forget about your last chance to sign up for this raffle in case, I know the link is on the chat. In case you just signed in later with us, make sure that you sign up for this. It's tons of good, I wish I could keep it, but I had to reject those rights because, well, it's for you all. We will be letting the winner know, I believe, next week, so please tune in for that. And with that said, we always love to close with our hootie hoo and owl eyes, so if you all would like to join me, hootie hoo.